Christopher Walken. Just the name carries weight. A single appearance on screen can elevate a film into classic status, from Annie Hall to The Deer Hunter, Pulp Fiction, and even True Romance. Walken's presence is magnetic. Yet many argue that his pinnacle role is as Frank White in Abel Ferrara's 1990 cult masterpiece, King of New York. Walken's portrayal is hypnotic, a man who combines calm professionalism with underlying menace. Seeing him as the kingpin of New York's criminal underworld, commanding loyalty and fear, is nothing short of iconic. From the opening shot, we understand his power. Two women, one black and one white, accompany him in a car as he surveys the city. No exposition is necessary. His dominance is visual and visceral. This bad mother is Frank White. When most people think of King of New York, their minds go straight to Frank White and Christopher Walken's commanding performance. But lurking in the shadows of that empire is Jimmy Jump, played by a young Lawrence Fishburne back when they called him Larry. Jimmy steals every scene he's in. He's wild, unpredictable, and utterly terrifying. Jimmy is the embodiment of chaos on the streets of New York. He isn't just a gangster. He's a force of nature, a man whose energy could make the city itself flinch. Health Wealth Diary presents the real story from King of New York. To understand King of New York, you have to understand Abel Ferrara. Born in the Bronx in 1951, Ferrara grew up surrounded by the kind of streets he would later bring to life on screen. Crime, violence, and moral conflict weren't ideas to him, they were reality. He spent years trying to make King of New York, but American studios avoided it because of its violence and tone. Eventually, it was financed internationally, allowing Ferrara to keep full creative control. And that's why the film feels so real. From the first shot, Ferrara's camera immerses the audience in New York's underbelly. The slums, the crack houses, the muddy streets under highways, every corner feels alive with tension. Ferrara's city is more than a backdrop. It is a character itself. Unlike Scarface, which quickly relocates to Miami and stylizes its violence, King of New York remains grounded, gritty, and unforgiving. The camera lingers, showing a city where danger and decay coexist with ambition and cunning. Shot entirely on location in 1989, the film captures a raw, unfiltered version of the city. Locations included Sing Sing Prison, the Plaza Hotel, Queensboro Bridge, and Times Square. Even the plaza scenes came with a unique story. Donald Trump himself allowed filming there for free. On one condition, Christopher Walken had to take a photo with Ivana Trump, who was a huge fan. But beneath the production details lies something deeper: authenticity. And no character represents that authenticity more than Jimmy Jump. Jimmy wasn't just written, he was inspired. Abel Ferrara drew from real stories he heard about Harlem gangsters, men who would dance while executing their victims, not metaphorically, literally. They moved with rhythm, with flair, turning violence into performance. That energy, chaotic, theatrical, and terrifying, became Jimmy Jump. And Lawrence Fishburne channels it perfectly. His movements are erratic, his laughter unhinged, his presence explosive. Every action feels alive and unpredictable. You're not watching a character, you're watching a force. Before he became Lawrence Fishburne, Larry was already building a serious acting resume. He started young, appearing as a teenager in the Vietnam War epic Apocalypse Now, working under legendary director Francis Ford Coppola. Even early on, Larry showed intensity and presence beyond his years. Throughout the 1980s, he took on a mix of film and television roles, steadily developing his craft. He wasn't a star yet, but in the industry he was known as someone to watch. Then came King of New York. His role in the film changed everything. Larry stole scenes alongside Christopher Walken and proved he could command the screen with raw energy and charisma. Critics have labeled him the first real hip-hop gangster in cinema, something that was never seen before on that level. After that, his career took off. He delivered powerful performances in films like What's Love Got to Do with It and Boys in the Hood, and later became globally iconic as Morpheus in the Matrix trilogy. Over time, Lawrence built a reputation as one of the most respected actors in Hollywood, known for his range, intensity, and commanding presence. While Jimmy Jump represents chaos, Frank White represents something else entirely: evolution. Frank White wasn't pulled from thin air. His character draws strong parallels to real-life New York crime figures, most notably Crazy Joe Gallo. Crazy Joe was known for breaking traditional mafia rules. He worked with black gangs in Harlem, built alliances outside the Italian mob structure, and understood something most old-school bosses didn't: power was changing. Like Frank White, Gallo blurred lines between races, between street crews and organized crime, between business and violence. He wasn't confined to one world. He moved through all of them. And Frank White reflects this evolution perfectly. He employs a diverse crew. He uses street-level enforcers like Jimmy Jump. He eliminates rivals not just for territory, but for control of an entire system. And like Gallo, he sees crime as business, not chaos, not emotion, just business. Before King of New York, Christopher Walken was already one of the most respected actors of his generation. He began his career in television and theater, but his breakthrough came in The Deer Hunter, a performance that earned him an Academy Award and instantly established him as a serious talent. Walken became known for playing intense, unpredictable characters, often walking the line between calm and dangerous. Throughout the 1980s, he built a reputation with roles in films like The Dead Zone, A View to a Kill, and At Close Range. Then came King of New York in 1990. As Frank White, Walken delivered one of his most iconic performances. Calm, calculated, and chilling, he created a crime boss unlike any other, not loud or explosive, but controlled and intelligent. It became one of his defining roles. After that, Walken's career only grew stronger. Over time, he became a cultural icon, known not just for his acting, but for his unmistakable voice, rhythm, and presence. As Frank White is released from Sing Sing and begins reclaiming power, Jimmy leads the charge. He is the trigger-happy right hand, the enforcer who doesn't hesitate. Together, they eliminate rivals, Colombian cartels, triad members, even mafia figures who refuse to cooperate. Frank is the brain, the businessman who understands power. Jimmy is the storm, the raw force that enforces it. Their relationship defines the film. Jimmy doesn't fear Frank, he respects him, and together they rise. But Frank White's growing empire doesn't go unnoticed for long because the NYPD Narcotics Division is watching. Led by detectives Bishop, Gilly, and Flanagan, played respectively by Victor Argo, David Caruso, and Wesley Snipes. But they have a problem. They can't touch him. Frank uses the system, lawyers, influence, and power to stay untouchable. Even when Jimmy and his men are arrested, they're quickly released. This frustrates the police to the breaking point, and that's when the law stops acting like the law and starts acting like criminals. One of the most unexpected moments in King of New York comes from Jimmy Jump himself. In the famous restaurant scene, he's standing in a fast food spot ordering something to eat when he notices a group of kids being scolded for not having money to play the arcade games. And for a brief moment, the savage disappears. Jimmy steps in, hands their mother some change, and tells them,
"Hey, go play the games. Go ahead."
No violence, no madness, just a glimpse of something human. It's a rare look at a different side of him. But that moment doesn't last, because right then, the detectives move in and make the arrest. In one of the film's most explosive moments, the detectives launch an illegal raid on a nightclub where Frank and his crew are celebrating. Bullets fly, bodies drop, but Frank and Jimmy survive. The detectives pursue them relentlessly in a high-speed chase through the streets of New York. It's fast, aggressive, and completely out of control. Then comes one of the film's most unforgettable moments. Frank White and Jimmy Jump are being hunted down, but Jimmy doesn't panic. He escalates. He climbs halfway out of the sunroof, fully exposed, and opens fire on the unmarked police car chasing them. Bullets tear through the night, and over it all, you hear his maniacal laugh. It's the kind of energy that feels similar to the Joker, not just violence, but performance. Moments later, everything shifts. In a sudden ambush, Jimmy catches Detective Flanagan off guard and kills him. It's fast, brutal, and unforgiving. Exactly the kind of violence Jimmy Jump lives by. For a brief moment, it feels like he's won, but it doesn't last. Detective Gilly watches his partner collapse, and something inside him breaks. Gilly fires, hitting Jimmy multiple times. Jimmy stumbles and then falls. That same maniacal laugh continues, even as his life slowly slips away. Gilly steps forward, completely consumed. No hesitation, no control. He raises his weapon and pulls the trigger. Jimmy Jump is shot in the head, and even in death, it feels like that laugh is still echoing. One of the most powerful and coldest scenes in the entire film is at Detective Flanagan's funeral. As Detective Gilly leaves and heads to his car, a limo pulls up next to him. A shotgun comes out, and bang! Gilly is dead. Then comes the film's most important and haunting moment. Frank confronts Detective Bishop in his apartment, not to kill him, but to explain himself. With gun at hand, he forces Bishop to put on his own handcuffs. He claims he took out rival gangs not out of greed, but because they exploited the weak, human trafficking, prostitution, and even crimes against children. In his mind, he's not a villain, he's a hero, a modern-day Robin Hood. As Frank leaves, Bishop refuses to back down. Finding a spare key, he breaks away from his handcuffs and chases Frank into the subway. A final confrontation, gunfire, and confusion. After the smoke clears, Bishop is killed, but not before wounding Frank. Frank tries to escape, stumbling into a taxi in Times Square. The King of New York doesn't die like a legend, he dies alone, bleeding in the back of that taxi, surrounded by the same city he thought he owned. No power, no control, just silence, and the realization that the streets were never his to begin with. I know we didn't touch on every great moment, like the classic subway scene, where Frank White flips the script on a group of robbers, hands them money, and even offers them a job. And then there's the incredible ensemble cast, including a young Giancarlo Esposito, who many now recognize as Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. Overall, King of New York is a true classic. It has everything: sex, action, drama, and moments that stay with you long after the credits roll. This is, without a doubt, a must-watch. Thank you for watching. Was Frank White really a villain, or just a businessman playing by the rules of a broken system? And what's your favorite scene from King of New York, and why? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like. If you want to see more awesome videos, then hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on the notifications for more new content from the Health Wealth Diary.